The signal came from the edge of the Orion Arm, a pulse of thought so loud that every human psychic on Earth screamed at the same moment. Admiral Shen Wei stood on the bridge of the ISS Defiance, watching the tactical display fill with red markers. There were thousands of them, then millions. The collective had arrived, and they brought their entire civilization with them. For 300 years, humanity had expanded across the stars. They built colonies on distant worlds. They terraformed dead planets. They created the Imperial fleet, the greatest military force their species had ever known. But nothing had prepared them for this. The collective was not just an alien race. It was a single mind spread across billions of bodies, a consciousness that had consumed 100 civilizations before turning its attention to the young human empire. The first contact happened above the mining colony of New Helsinki. A collective scout ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel and immediately began scanning the human settlement. The miners watched in terror as the alien vessel hung in the sky like a metal wasp. Then the voice came, not through speakers or transmissions, but directly into their minds. "You are small," the voice said. "You are divided. You will join us, and your separation will end." The miners did not wait for orders. They grabbed their industrial lasers and opened fire. The scout ship exploded in a ball of blue flame, and humanity's war with the collective began. Admiral Chun studied the reports from that first encounter. The collective had expected the miners to surrender. They had expected fear and confusion. Instead, they found resistance. This puzzled the hive mind. In their long history of conquest, species always froze when faced with overwhelming force. They waited for leadership. They sought consensus. But humans acted differently. Each individual human was capable of independent decision-making. Each one could choose to fight without waiting for permission. The collective sent a larger force to New Helsinki. 50 warships descended on the colony, their weapons primed to teach the humans a lesson about defiance. The Imperial fleet responded with 3 destroyers and a carrier group. By every calculation the collective made, the humans should have retreated. They were outnumbered and outgunned. Instead, the human ships accelerated directly into the enemy formation. Captain Sarah Okonkwo commanded the destroyer Thunderbolt that day. She was 32 years old, a veteran of the border wars, and she had a reputation for creative tactics. When her tactical officer reported that the collective ships were moving in perfect synchronization, she smiled. "They're all connected," she said. "One mind controlling everything. That means one pattern, one weakness." She ordered her ship to break formation. The other human vessels did the same, each captain making independent decisions based on their own assessment of the battle. The collective tried to track them all, but the humans were not moving in any predictable way. There was no central command to anticipate. There was no pattern to exploit. Each human ship was a separate threat, guided by a separate intelligence. The Thunderbolt dove beneath the collective formation and fired its main guns directly into the belly of their flagship. The alien vessel's shields flickered, and for one moment, the hive mind felt something it had not experienced in 10,000 years. It felt surprise. The battle above New Helsinki lasted 6 hours. The humans lost 1 destroyer and suffered heavy damage to 2 others. The collective lost 38 ships. When the surviving alien vessels retreated, they carried with them a new understanding. Humanity was not like the others. Humanity was dangerous. The hive mind gathered its thoughts across 1 trillion neural connections. It had underestimated these creatures. Their bodies were fragile. Their technology was primitive compared to the great civilizations the collective had already absorbed. But there was something in their minds that defied prediction. They called it free will. The collective called it chaos. Admiral Chun received orders from Earth 3 weeks after New Helsinki. The Imperial Senate had voted for total war. Every shipyard in human space was now producing warships at maximum capacity. Every able citizen was being trained for combat. The Emperor himself addressed the species in a broadcast that reached every human settlement in the galaxy. "They believe we are weak because we are many," the Emperor said. "They believe our individuality makes us easy to conquer. They are wrong. Our diversity is our greatest weapon. Our independence is our shield. We will not be absorbed. We will not be silenced. We will show them what humanity can do when we fight together while thinking apart." The main invasion came 6 months later. The collective committed everything to the assault on human space. 10 billion drones, each one an extension of the hive mind, crossed the border in a wave that darkened the stars. Their ships numbered in the hundreds of thousands. Their plan was simple: overwhelm the humans with sheer numbers, crush their resistance before they could adapt. Admiral Chun waited for them at the Kepler line, a defensive position stretching across 3 star systems. The Imperial fleet had assembled 4,000 warships, the largest military force in human history. It was still only a fraction of what the collective was bringing, but Chun was not planning to meet them in a fair fight. The first collective ships reached the Kepler line and found empty space. The human fleet had vanished. The hive mind extended its senses, searching for the enemy. It found nothing. Then the mines began to detonate. Human engineers had spent 5 months seeding the Kepler line with stealth explosives. Millions of them hung in the void, invisible to collective sensors. When the alien fleet passed through, they triggered a chain reaction that turned space itself into a killing field. Collective ships died by the thousands, their formations disrupted, their perfect coordination shattered by the chaos of the explosions. The Imperial fleet emerged from hiding behind a gas giant, their engines burning at full power. Chun had divided his force into 200 independent battle groups, each one commanded by an officer with full authority to make their own tactical decisions. The collective tried to respond, but there was no single target to focus on. There was no central command to destroy. The humans attacked from every direction at once, each group choosing their own targets based on their own judgment. Captain Okonkwo led her battle group straight into the heart of the collective formation. Her ship, now the heavy cruiser Liberator, carved a path through the enemy with precision strikes and unexpected maneuvers. She had studied the collective's tactics for months. She knew their weakness. They were fast, but they were predictable. When one part of the hive made a decision, every part followed. There was no dissent. There was no creativity. There was only the pattern. She broke the pattern. The Liberator accelerated past a collective dreadnought, close enough to scrape paint from its hull. At that range, the alien weapons could not track fast enough. Okonkwo fired her torpedoes directly into the enemy ship's engine core. The explosion destroyed 3 more collective vessels in the chain reaction. "All ships," she broadcast on the open channel, "stop fighting their war. Fight yours." The message spread through the human fleet. Captains began taking risks that no collective intelligence would ever consider. They flew too close. They fired too fast. They sacrificed tactical advantage for psychological impact. The collective had no framework for understanding enemies who would knowingly put themselves in danger to achieve victory. Every model they built assumed rational self-preservation. Humans did not always behave rationally. The battle raged for 3 days. The collective threw everything at the human fleet, trying to find the key that would unlock their resistance. They captured human soldiers and probed their minds, searching for the command structure that must exist somewhere. They found nothing but individual thoughts, individual fears, and individual determination. Each human mind was a fortress of independence. There was no master to corrupt. There was no leader whose death would break the species. On the 3rd day, Admiral Chun made his move. He had held back a reserve force of 300 ships, hiding them in the debris field of a destroyed collective carrier. When the hive mind committed its last reserves to the battle, Chun's hidden fleet emerged behind them. The collective found itself trapped between 2 human forces, each one operating independently, each one adapting to the battlefield in real time. The hive mind tried to retreat. For the first time in its existence, it experienced fear. Not the fear of death, for the collective could not truly die as long as any part of it survived. This was something worse. This was the fear of being wrong. For 10,000 years, the collective had believed that unity was strength. Individuality was weakness. Separation was chaos. But these humans had proven that belief false. Their chaos was a weapon. Their separation was armor. Their individuality made them impossible to predict and impossible to defeat. The surviving collective ships fled human space, carrying with them the traumatized fragments of a hive mind that had lost faith in itself. Behind them, the Imperial fleet regrouped around the wreckage of their victory. They had lost 800 ships and 40,000 soldiers. The collective had lost over 100,000 vessels and billions of drones. Admiral Chun stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the last enemy signals fade from his display. His face showed exhaustion, grief, and something else: pride. Humanity had faced an enemy that had conquered 100 civilizations. They had faced a mind that spanned billions of bodies. And they had won. Captain Akanko's voice came through the communication system. "Admiral, the collective is retreating across the entire front. What are your orders?" Chun considered the question. He could pursue. He could chase the wounded hive mind back to its home systems and destroy it forever. But that was not the human way. Humanity did not seek conquest. They sought survival. They sought freedom. "Let them go," Chun said. "But make sure they remember. Make sure the entire galaxy remembers. We are not prey. We are not victims. We are humanity, and we fight." The message was transmitted across all frequencies, in all languages, in all formats. It reached the collective and burned itself into their group memory. It reached the other species who had watched the war from the safety of their own territories. It reached the young civilizations just beginning to explore the stars. Everyone heard it. Everyone understood. Humanity was not to be underestimated. Humanity was not to be conquered. The hive mind had learned this lesson at a terrible cost. The Imperial fleet had taught them with fire and blood and the unstoppable force of billions of individual minds working toward a single purpose while remaining forever free. The war was not truly over. The collective would recover. They would return eventually, drawn by the need to understand these strange creatures who had defeated them. But when they came back, they would find humanity ready. They would find a species that had grown stronger, expanded further, and remembered every lesson from this first great victory. The stars belonged to everyone, but on this day, they belonged to humanity. And humanity would never let them go.